Hey everybody, Laddie Legacy here, and I'm doing some more work on my game. Um, for the past couple of weeks, I've been making some new game assets, so I'm going to incorporate them. And one of the first things that I made that I want to add to my game is it's kind of like a little way of seeing how far you've gotten into the stage, like sort of like a track. Looks like the bloodstream has a little flag at the end, and I think something like this would be a good visual way to see how far you're getting, how much closer you are to the goal for each stage. And yeah, um, what I'm going to do is there's going to be like a little icon that looks like the Atom's head that's going to move from one side to the other. First, I need to make sure everything looks right. All right. I forgot to make it a looping asset, a looping continuously. And I think I'll adjust the speed so it doesn't animate as fast. All right. Oh yeah, that looks pretty good. All right, and yeah, this is a good way to show the progress uh, of the game, of each stage that you're on. I think at least. Let's see. So I made an atom symbol, like his head, and that's going to be what's moving on this little, not sure what you would call it, a measure. Uh, so yeah, the head's going to move from one side to the other, and then I'll program it so that it stops at a particular x coordinate. And then after that, I'll think of something to program into the game to signify that you cleared the stage, whether it's like confetti that fires out of the head, or it could just be something simple like text popping up that says stage cleared, and then fade out of the level and then fade into the next level. All right. And the good thing about this is you could adjust the speed that the head is going, and it'll make it slower if it's a longer stage. And another good thing about programming it like this is when the head reaches a certain x coordinate, like if it gets halfway through, you could program your game to like if you want to get harder, like once the head reaches the middle mark, you could spawn more baddies or spawn more obstacles, or make the obstacles travel faster, like if the blood was rushing faster in that particular part of the blood vessel. All right. So yeah, this is where math skills come in. Basic math skills, because I'm pretty much still, I'd say, like entry level into programming. But yeah, knowing things like greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, that stuff helps when you're making a game. That kind of logic and reasoning skills. All right. And this is probably the more boring part of programming a game. It's just waiting to make sure it works. So I'll know it'll work if it reaches the point that I programmed and it stops. Actually, looking at it gives me another idea. I could make a second graphic for the head, like when he reaches the endpoint and stops, switch it to like happy Adam face or laughing or something like that. All right. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. So really quick, I'm going to show off some of the bad guy sprites that I made. So I made a big one, this big guy here, and if you're a fan of the show, you might recognize the face. It looks, I made it look like the slime monster from the Laundry Day episode, and basically I put that face on a like a virus kind of a body. Usually when I see a virus in like a cartoon, it's a blob with like little suction cuppy things around it or something gross like that. Alright, and I made a few other kind of enemies to put into the bloodstream. These were actually inspired by like the little virus monsters from Dr. Mario. So just giving them these weird looking faces. Alright. So yeah, different kinds of bad guys to add some variety to the game. I might make it so that if you attack the big one, it splits off into two smaller ones. And trying to think of other kinds of obstacles I can put in the game. One thing that I thought of the other day was like a wall of cholesterol they have to shoot through. That would be fun. Maybe make it like a bunch of separate blocks, so you have to keep firing through, or else crash into it. Alright, so I got the big virus, little and two little ones right there. And I'll program them more later, so that when the atom touches one, he loses some life, and that when you shoot at them, that they'll explode. Actually, I already have an animation for a slime explosion. So next thing that I want to work on is sort of a transition for the stages. Like I mentioned, I want each stage to be one of the Titans. So one stage would be going through Robin's bloodstream, and another would be going through Starfire's. And for that, I actually made like a fun little animation that I think, and it's also something that I could easily switch around for each stage. Basically, it's like a needle piercing into the skin. So if you're someone that doesn't like needles, maybe look away. I know I'm a little apprehensive when it comes to needles. Yeah, you could be an adult and still hate them. Alright, let's see. So I'm using a tiled background for the Titan's living room. Alright, so simple, basic background. I've actually used this before in one of my animations that I uploaded on YouTube. Um, and now I'm going to make add the asset that I made for transitions. uh, I don't know, if you're squeamish, maybe it wasn't the best idea, but and I picked the best name for it too. I hate needles. um, man. Um, yeah. This is the best way I could think of to show transitions, because I wanted to do like cutscenes where the Atom is talking with the Titans. So from going from there to like each stage where the Atom is traveling in their bloodstream, I thought it would be a good idea to show how he gets inside. So, yeah. Oh, maybe I'll add a stabbing sound effect when the needle makes contact, just to make people feel extra uncomfortable. uh, but yeah, the thing I like about this is like for each stage, for each Titan that the Atom goes into, I just have to really switch the skin tone there. This one's actually supposed to be Robin, but I think maybe I made the skin too orange. But it's easy to switch around. For Cyborg, I'm not sure what I do since he's made out of metal. Maybe he might be like the final stage, or something like that. Maybe instead of being in the bloodstream, it would just be like in his ear or in his mouth, since those parts of his body are still made of flesh. But yeah, that could be a good place for a final boss fight. Kind of like that one episode, the Meatball Party episode, where the Titans have to go inside Raven's mouth to fight some kind of hideous octopus-looking demon. Oh man, that's such a weird episode, but that's a funny place for you to fight someone, is inside your friend's mouth. But yeah, that's a possibility for Cyborg. Could be in his mouth or his ear, or even inside his nose. All good places for a final boss fight. Let's see how it looks. Stab. Shrink. And yeah, transition to the stage. And actually, I might want to add like fade in, fade out. So when the needle hits and he goes in, fade to black, and then fade into the level. All right. So I have these bullets, these particles. They're going to act as like the ammunition that the Atom fires, and I'm giving each of them the bullet behavior, which for game makers, it just gives the property that when the object is spawned, whatever angle it's facing, that's the angle it'll travel, like continuously at a constant rate. So very useful for most kinds of bullets. And then if you want to do different bullets, you could always add extra behaviors. like giving it a wave property so that it moves in a different pattern, or even slowing them down when they get to a certain point and dropping. But for purposes for this game, it just has to be a simple bullet that goes in one direction. I might add some effects to it, like when it comes in contact with something, like a little, does a little explosion or something sparkly. I'm not sure. I I love adding particle effects to just random stuff, just to give it sort of some extra pizzazz. um, let's see. So yeah, what I want to do is for him to throw these particle projectiles, and it's like the ones that are gravitating around him. That's the ones that he uses to attack with. So there'd be like an ammo limit of 3. But you'll be able to either find more, like there'll be ammo that goes across the bloodstream, like particles that he could pick up, or maybe he might just respawn them automatically. Still, all right. So I put at 45 degrees. That should be 0 degrees so that it travels forward. That's an easy fix. All right. But yeah, I think this will be a good weapon for the Atom. Usually, it's hard to associate certain weapons with him because mainly what I've seen him do in like media is he shrinks and he punches, which is pretty cool actually. But thinking of a good projectile weapon took a while. Just have him chuck particles at his enemies. And since they're tiny enough, I think a particle would hurt someone going at that kind of velocity. All right. So that's looking good so far. And actually, so it doesn't look so boring, I'm going to have an animation made for him. So it looks like he's actually pitching the particles. So, just to make it look visually a bit more interesting, it's good to put in a little bit of extra effort, especially when you're a fan of these characters. I love DC and I love Teen Titans Go, so I want to show them that I put in a little bit of effort. All right, and throw. Pretty simple little animation, but like I said, it'll add a little bit of extra, something visually fun to the game. And I just like the thought of the Atom picking up a particle and chucking it at some virus or something like that. Just the weird stuff that you can do when you're like microscopic. All right. Let me just. All right. And of course, I got to program it so when he finishes the animation, he goes back to his regular idle animation. Yeah, a lot of that goes into making these games besides programming is just having the right animations. So if you want to do it all yourself, if you're considering making a video game, like to start with, just have some basic reasoning or logic skills, because that's really and math skills, because that's really all you need to know how to program it. and then just some basic animation skills, and I think anyone can make a decent enough looking game. Um, if you've had experience with animation, that's pretty good starting point when you understand how layers work, um, how a progression works from going from one point to the next. All right, so now what I want to try doing is getting the particles to respawn. So after he chucks them all, they're going to respawn around him. Oh no. All right. All right. I made a goof. So I forgot to add the instance so that they only respawn once while true. That it triggers only one time. And I've made this mistake before, and it always looks pretty hilarious. All right. Like the first time I tried to animate an explosion. All right. So let's see if this looks any better. 1, 2, 3, and all right. Only one now. This looks better. All right. I think I'll end it here. Next time I'll try to make to work on the boss, and some other basic animations like for attack, for getting attacked. Yeah. So just more progress in the game, and thank you for tuning in. And I hope I'll make something that you guys will really enjoy.